For most, the weekend means being able to sleep in an extra hour or two for the next couple days. Unwind a bit. Maybe start that new DIY project. Maybe spend some time to look for that new living room set, or shop for your next vehicle. For those of us in retail commission sales, the weekend is go time. It's time where we're going to try to close all of our deals we've been working on all week, for the past couple weeks, and even the past couple months. If we played our cards right, the next 2 or 3 days can make or break the month that we set out to achieve. One Friday in particular stands out in my mind. When I think back, standing in line or standing in rotation to wait on a walk-in guest. In this high-volume auto dealership I was working for at the time. We opened at 9 a.m. and it was close to noon. I had just finished delivering a large SUV to a very nice couple who were newly retired and planning next to buy a travel trailer to tow around the country. Great people. I remember they even sent me a text in front of their new SUV with Mount Rushmore in the background. After finishing up with Mr. and Mrs. Cleaver, I noticed that there wasn't another sales associate outside to wait on guests. I quickly grabbed a drink from my water bottle, checked to make sure I was looking sharp, and bounced outside. Wouldn't you know it? Hot dog! Pulling up in the only available spot in the front of the dealership was an older Audi SUV. Triple checking my appearance, standing straight up but casual, shoulders back, chin up, and ready for my power greeting. A single retired woman had gotten out of the 10-plus-year-old SUV and was walking my direction with a smile. I remember walking up and meeting her half the distance. I just can't figure out why in this one area, which is the first step of the sales process, is so hard for people to do properly. Here's an important magical little sales tip. If the environment you're in allows enough space for you to walk and greet your customer halfway when they walk through the door of your showroom or when they get out of their vehicle, then do it. And do it quickly, with a spring in your step. Walk over and greet them with a smile. If a client is forming an opinion of us within the first 3 to 5 seconds, by doing this, our body language is telling our client that we're grateful they're here and we're ready to be of a service. It's so funny how one's mind gets in a rush, especially in a high-volume, fast-paced business environment. How when you run into someone who is super calm, ultra relaxed, and very kind, it's almost like you've walked into another world, if only for a brief moment. Meeting Brenda, not Mrs. or Ma'am, was exactly this. I think there's a lot of salespeople who would say to themselves at this point, great, a single-legged up, not now, not today, not when I'm trying to get 3 out today. They are looking for the easy deal, forgetting that everybody buys a little bit differently. She was here to look and gather information on hybrids and never had seen one in person or driven one before. And everyone who comes into the store may be at a different point in their buying process. Love the one you're with and do your best to solve their problem while they're in front of you. Brenda was obviously just starting her search, and I told her I would be happy to. And providing her with all the information on our brand's hybrid systems was the easiest part of my job. I told Brenda to follow me, and we took a stroll down Discovery Lane, toward the direction of our hybrid vehicles. I found out what Brenda loved about her SUV, and what she hated about it. Having lived in the LA area and recently retiring to the Pacific Northwest, she not only needed an all-wheel drive, but also wanted to lower her carbon footprint. Leather, and all the bells and whistles were a must-have. Brenda jokingly let me know that she bought a car once when heated seats were brand new, and she swore she would never buy another one without it. No problem, I said, and then I asked what she did for work when she lived in LA. She and her husband owned a music production business. Get out of town, really? Letting me know that back in the 70s and early 80s they produced a lot of the music that was very popular during that time. Wow, you just never know who you're going to run into. And most because they don't care enough for their client and build the rapport during the discovery. Know this, if your client is opening up to you a little bit, it means you're on the right track and building a little trust. So amazing. When Brenda and I were strolling down Discovery Lane, I asked if she would like to know what her Audi was worth. And by the time she would leave, I would make sure I would get her all the information on the hybrid vehicle of her choice, estimates on what it would cost. And by then, our appraiser would be done with the Audi's evaluation, and she could take all that information back to discuss with her husband. "Wow, that would be wonderful," she said, as she handed me the keys to her Audi to start the appraisal. When showing Brenda the hybrid SUVs, I already knew she wanted a dark color, and all the features and equipment she needed. I showed her a hybrid SUV that had almost everything she wanted. I let her know it would save her $3,500, and that could lower her payment about $60 to $70 per month. She graciously thanked me and said no. She wanted that one, pointing to the dark royal navy blue hybrid SUV that was parked right in front of us. "That's a great choice," I said, "and if I'm barking up the wrong tree, just let me know. But based off of everything you told me, would you consider looking at the Platinum Titanium package instead of the Limited? It's only $4,000 more. It has it all, even the latest safety features, heated and cooled seats. In addition, it would only affect the payment by a bit, or you could extend the term out a tad to keep the payments affordable." "Okay, you're right," Brenda said, and I grabbed the keys to the fully loaded hybrid SUV and pulled it out from the line. I opened the rear hatch and the hood at the same time, and I noticed that Brenda walked around to the rear. Cargo room is important, I thought to myself, as I continued to open all the other doors and propping the hood up. For those in the automotive business, this is called slotting and butterflying the vehicle. And if you're not doing it, you're leaving the show out. And that's what they came for, no matter how much you hear about that car sales guy. But it's true, they come for the show. And to set oneself apart from the guy down the street, you need to develop your show. Cater your demo or the show all around the information that is important to your client. Perform a dynamic demonstration, one that's unique to you and keeps your client engaged. When I slot and butterfly a vehicle, I pop the hood in the trunk at the same time. Where my client would walk to would tell me what's more important, performance or cargo room, and then I would start my show, or my demonstration, or my walk around from that point. When demonstrating your product, it's so important to make sure that you don't point out a feature without explaining what that feature does and how it's going to solve your client's needs. The demonstration needs to be exciting, informative, entertaining, and most importantly, would keep your client engaged. Get them and keep them involved. The more you can incorporate the other senses other than sight, the better your chances are that you're going to make a sale today. An old friend and old boss of mine always says, "The feel of the wheel seals the deal." After walking around the vehicle and painting the visual picture of Brenda taking it for a drive, and explaining how the features worked while she pushed the buttons, turned the knobs, and folded the seats down, we ended up standing in front of the passenger door when I opened it up and asked if she would take a seat to feel how comfortable it was. She laughed and told me that her husband Jack would be the only one sitting in the passenger seat, as it would be her SUV. She sat. I shut the door and took a seat in the driver's position. Covering a few more features, I started the engine, and Brenda immediately put her seatbelt on. I then pulled the vehicle out of the lot, and with keeping complete control, when I got it on the road, I punched it so she can feel the performance of the engine. About 3 blocks down the road, I pulled over into a quiet, empty parking lot and told Brenda it was her turn to take the wheel. Smiling from ear to ear, she ran from the passenger side over to the driver's side. When she sat in, she leaned over and told me, "You know, Greg, this could be the last SUV I ever own." Funny, she said that when she upgraded, and her husband Jack said that about 3 years later when he bought his hybrid vehicle. While on the test drive, and knowing that a lot had changed in vehicle technology since Brenda bought her last SUV, we started down a residential street so she could feel more comfortable. Making right-hand turns and looping back to the dealership, I asked her if she wanted to get the vehicle up to highway speeds. Without hesitation, she said she would. We jumped on the freeway and took it down a couple exits. On our way back, I had her take a right off the freeway and take it up a nice size hill so she could feel the power. Amazed with how easy it went up the hill, I noticed that Brenda was sitting more comfortably, and we were talking and carrying on a conversation more like we were old friends, just catching up from not seeing each other for a long period of time. We drove back into the dealership, and I had Brenda park the SUV, reverse it back into the same spot that we took it out of, so she could test out the backup cameras and the parking sensors, as she could see how easy it was to park a rather large SUV in a tight spot. When she turned off the vehicle, I had Brenda read off the miles to her, and I told Brenda to follow me as we were walking back to the sales department. As we were walking back to the showroom, we passed the lower-priced hybrid SUV, and I pointed it out again and briefly mentioned if she's sure she wouldn't consider it. "Absolutely not," she said. "The one I test drove is the one I want." Terrific, as I opened the door to the service department that led back onto the showroom floor. Since that time, Brenda, her husband Jack, and I have all become good friends in the professional sense. Look, if my attitude wasn't right, and I didn't properly follow the process and perform a dynamic demonstration, I probably wouldn't have gotten to know Brenda and her husband Jack. I certainly would have never known I was helping somebody who was directly responsible for the good music that I grew up with. Not only was I able to earn Brenda's business on the first day, when she said she just wanted information on how hybrids worked, and from helping and genuinely caring about Brenda's needs, she and her husband Jack have purchased 3 vehicles from me and refer their friends and family every chance they can get. The dynamic demonstration. It's showtime and you're the main star. Hey, if you found value in this video, if you're in automotive sales, home appliance sales, furniture sales, or you're thinking about getting into sales, please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, watch one video each week, apply the information, and before you know it, you'll be succeeding at sales too. Learn to sell more, sell consistently, and make more on each sale. Lead the sales board, and don't forget to check out these videos right here.